Hello folks, and welcome to the latest In the Workshop video. Peter here from Thorncroft Clematis, and bringing you today an In the Workshop video. It's the first time I've done one of these for some weeks now. I keep promising I'm going to do them more often, but just sadly I've not been able to get around to it, so very sorry about that. But I think I'm getting the hang of these now, so I've just done a few tests this morning. Got myself a little better set up this time, so hopefully you'll find the audio quality is a little bit better on these videos. The new microphone that I've got using here. Right, testing. I won't know if it's any good until I listen to it, so we'll have to see, won't we? And yeah, we've got a few bits and pieces to tell you about, and kind of trying to break these videos down into some slightly more useful sections for you as well, so hopefully that will help. And yes, we've got kind of information section, hints and tips, and customers' questions, which I thought would be a good idea to have them slightly in more sections. So yeah, what have we got for you today? So first thing really, here we are, middle of October now, so yes, summer has passed us by very quickly in a lot of parts of the country. We've had a really nice summer. Here in Norfolk it's been absolutely beautiful, very, very hot. Very dry. We're used to it being dry over here in Norfolk, driest county in the country apparently. And so yes, the garden has been really parched. We've found that actually in the last few weeks we've had incredibly heavy rain, some parts of the county getting flooding, but there we are, we've needed it, that's for certain. But planting, it's still a great time for planting clematis, because on the whole clematis will keep their roots will keep fairly active during the winter and spring, so it's a great time to put them into the ground. Their roots will continue to develop once planted through the autumn and winter, and that will allow them to really get away really quickly in the spring after a flying start. So autumn planting is very good for clematis. Don't forget, of course, there are a lot of evergreen clematis. We've got quite a selection of evergreens on our website. I'll put a link to the evergreen collection in the description in the below the video. And of course, bear in mind that if you're putting plants in recently, they may start to deteriorate in quality, and some of the leaves will start to brown and go dead and black. Don't worry, of course, a lot of clematis that are deciduous will be going dormant. So if you've got plants that are starting to look a bit tired, don't fret, don't stress. It's probably just dormancy setting in at this time of year, of course. Also, of course, I mentioned we've had a lot of heavy rain recently in certain parts of the country. We don't want to overwater our plants. Watering them too heavily, especially at this time of year, can be a problem. So make sure that you stop watering your clematis now. Whatever the clouds send will be enough, that's for certain. Of course, if you're planting, just water them in, but once you've watered them in, then leave them alone. They'll be quite all right, just left to get on with it. Yes, other things for winter interest, we do have a variety of other climbers on the website, so do have a look at our companion climbers. Other climbers section on the website. There's a number of those that have good winter interest. Winter flowering jasmine, Jasminum nudiflorum, and of course also we have the honeysuckle fragrantisma, which is winter flowering and has a lovely fragrance too. So check out those other climbers as well on the website. Shows, news, shows for 2020. We've applied for 2 flower shows for next year. We've applied for Chelsea Flower Show, of course. That will be, if we're accepted, it will be our 20th Chelsea. So that, we should hear about that any day now. We won't be allowed to tell you if we're in or not until the end of November. The RHS have an embargo on releasing that information. So we've made the application. We should hear if we're into that flower show any day now, and then at the end of November we'll be able to tell you if we've been accepted or not. So it's Chelsea, that'll be our 20th Chelsea if our application is accepted. And Malvern Spring Festival, we've applied for the Malvern Spring Festival again. It's a fantastic show. We love going there. We've had so many people say it's great to have Thorncroft way over there in the West Country, and I love getting out there. So yeah, that's going to be great fun. Applied for Malvern Spring Festival, and once again, any day we should hear if we've been accepted for that. I don't think there's an embargo on telling people if you're in to that show or not. So if I hear that we're in, I'll let you know on social somehow or other. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out. We've got a page on all of those. And of course, do sign up for our email newsletter on our homepage, thorncroftclematis.co.uk. I'll also put I'll put a link in the description. You can sign up for our email newsletter. You can select which types of news you hear about, so you won't get bombarded every week with an email, or certainly not every day with an email. I can't do them that frequently anyway. It's me that does the newsletters, so you can select which types of news you hear about. You can select to hear things like Plant of the Moment, which will be a particular feature plant. I'll give you a lot of information about that plant, tell you about its history and its breeding, how it's good for being used in the garden, whether it's good to grow in pots, that sort of thing. So that's rather a nice one. Our Looking Good list is a little bit more of just a sort of pictorial email, really, just to tell you which clematis are looking good at that particular time. And then of course you've got the news, and the actual news about what we're doing, where we're going to be, where you can come and see us, and yeah, just what's happening at the nursery. And of course there are one or two other options there as well. You can pick to hear about them or not. So do have a look at our email newsletter. It's very, very popular. 13,000 plus subscribers now, and growing rapidly. It seems to be a very popular mailing list to be on. So yeah, do check out our link in the description for MailChimp, our email newsletter. Okay, what else have we got? Questions from customers. Here's a few. I'm also going to try and keep these videos a little bit shorter, so that we can do them more frequently. So slightly shorter videos, but we'll do them more frequently. So some questions I've had from customers recently. Do I cover the lower shoots and leaves when I plant my clematis? So we'll send to every customer, when you receive your box of plants, you'll receive a copy of our printed care guide. So the care guide will tell you to plant your clematis deeper into the ground than it is in the pot we've sent it to you, and would say to bury it about maybe 2 or 3 inches. So that's what, about 6 to 10 centimetres deeper in the ground than it is in its pot. So you're likely to bury some of the lower leaves and shoots on the stems. Customers ask, do I cover those leaves and shoots when I plant? You can indeed. Don't worry. If you bury the odd leaf here or there on that plant, it won't do any great harm. Just when you backfill the soil around the stems, do so gently so you don't damage the stems. So just lightly cultivate the soil, break it up a bit between your fingers so that when you push that gently around the stems, it falls nice and neatly around them. Perhaps when you water the plant in, it will also help to just settle that around the stems. If there's a lot of leaf there, if it's a very bushy, leafy base to the plant and there's going to be a lot of leaf buried, you could just trim some of the leaves off with a sharp pair of scissors. Just trim the leaf off. Just leave a short amount of the leaf stem just to protect the node, the little bud in the leaf joint. So just leave a short amount of the leaf stem, the petiole. That will help protect the bud, but it will allow the soil to get in around the buds and in the node. And by doing that, the plant will actually be encouraged to shoot out from there and make you more upright runners, upright stems. The more upright stems you've got, the more flower you'll get, and that's what we all want, isn't it? So yes, you can cover the lower leaves and shoots, that's not a problem. And if it's very, very bushy, you can indeed just trim some of those lower leaves off. That's fine. I mentioned autumn planting. Autumn is a good time for planting, and one of the questions we had was, can we plant into containers now at this time of year? Yes, that's not a problem. Not a problem for your clematis. What I would say is, if you're potting clematis at this time of year, putting them into a container, water the plant in once it's potted, but then keep that container somewhere sheltered. So move the container to a sheltered area of the garden, just perhaps up against a wall or a shed, or an outbuilding, or even just up against another large plant or a large shrub. Just providing it a little bit of shelter will help avoid the pot becoming waterlogged, because that's what we don't want at this time of year. We don't want them to get soaked and waterlogged. But you can indeed, you can pot at this time of year into a container, that's quite all right. We suggest, again, I'll put a link in the description to the care guide for planting in containers, but we recommend using about 3 parts John Innes No. 3 compost. That's a loam-based compost for trees and shrubs, and about 1 part multi-purpose. So 3 parts John Innes No. 3 loam-based tree and shrub compost with 1 part multi-purpose. And clematis for shade. Could I recommend a few clematis to grow in shady situations? Now, this is a popular question, and it's a question we get asked quite a lot. Will clematis grow in the shade? There are some that will do better than others. So what we have done on the website is we've created a shade tolerant selection of plants. So on the home page of our website, and again I'll put a link in the description, there is a list of clematis that are shade tolerant. There are some that are better than others in the shade. The 2 to mention that are particularly good in my experience are Emilia plata, or plata, Emilia plata. It's a lovely mid-blue with a little bit of a mauve tint in the middle of the tepals. A very good long and late flowering Verticella type. So Emilia plata, that's a very good one for shade. And Prince George is a relatively modern introduction, bred over in Worcestershire. It's a small, a white Verticella, very similar to Blue Angel, but Prince George is a beautiful pure white flower. Again, a long summer flowering time and a very, very hardy plant. Excellent for shade and a very consistent performer. So yeah, that's a really good doer. If you can hear the fluttering and what have you, it's that I've got the chickens are in here with me today, so yeah, pardon the fluttering. Don't worry, ignore them. Tips, hints and tips. A few things to mention. This time of year, a lot of clematis will start to go dormant. They'll be losing their leaves, and if, like myself, if you've got plants that are growing up and over your porch, as that leaf drops, it will start to blow in the front door. When you open the front door to greet the postman or guests, a lot of that dead leaf will be laying there and it will get blown into the front door, making an awful mess. So if you've got clematis up and over your porch or over your front door, perhaps on a trellis next to the doorway, as they go dormant, wait until they have gone fully dormant, until the leaf is all brown. But once they are fully dormant, you can trim back the sort of majority of the big dead mass of the plant that's at the top. So if they're from the light prune or hard prune categories of clematis, so light prune, that's group 2, and hard prune is group 3 for pruning. So if they're in either of those categories, you can cut those back once they've gone dormant. You can remove the bulk of the plant, not all of it, but remove the bulk of the plant, so some of that leaf is reduced, is less likely to create a big mass of dead leaf that will blow into the front room or front door of your house. So that's one tip. Mulch. If you grow on sandy ground, down at the nursery we have a very, very sandy soil, very poor ground. your clematis will benefit very, very much from a good autumn mulch. So if you've got well rotted garden compost, then get a good forkful of that around each of your clematis. Perhaps just give them a small handful of bone meal first, and then just gently wriggle that in, and then mulch on top, and all that lovely nutrient will get taken down by the worms into the soil, feeding your clematis ready for next spring. It also will act as a little bit of an insulator as well. So if you're in a particularly frosty area, maybe you're quite low and your garden gets quite frosty in the winter, then yeah, the mulch will also help insulate and protect the root of your plants. Don't allow it to touch the stems. If you use rotted manure, for example, can be quite hot, so don't allow it to sit up against the stems of your clematis. Just put it as a little sort of ring around the base of them. Move pots to a sheltered location. We've talked a little bit about that. If you've got established pots on your patio, you can put those just again into a sheltered corner so they don't blow over, and so the pots don't become really sodden wet over the winter. We don't want that. If your pot doesn't have the ornamental feet to go under it, just sit it up on maybe a couple of house bricks to keep the drainage holes open, or just a bed of gravel. Perhaps you have a gravel driveway. Just sit the pot out on the gravel. At least it means the drainage hole remains free and open, so over the winter the pot will drain effectively and it will stop it getting waterlogged. But better still, if you can just pop it into a sheltered corner, in the corner between a couple of walls or a couple of outbuildings. That's ideal. Just push it into shelter. Last thing, wish list. Through the year, we've had a busy year. It's been a really good year for us. We've enjoyed that, of course, but it does pose problems. Sometimes people find that plants are out of stock on our website, so that's a great shame. We don't do what we call a back order. We don't take orders for plants we're out of stock of, I'm afraid. So the thing to do there is to click on the image of the plant you're looking at on the website. When the full page loads, you can click on a little link at the top near the name, which will allow you to be notified when it's back in stock. So do that, use the notify link, it works very well. And of course you can also add them to your wish list. Adding them to your wish list will not notify you when they're back in stock, but it will keep them there for future reference. So perhaps there's something you like and you've decided that you won't get them this autumn, perhaps you'll get them in the spring. Maybe you've got a significant date coming up, a birthday. Don't forget Christmas is just around the corner. You can add plants to your wish list, and then you can email that wish list to friends and relatives to tell them the plants that you'd really like to have. So that's just a thought for the weeks and months coming up. Okay, well, that's long enough for this video. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been nice to come and see you again, and hopefully the audio is better on this video than past ones, so we'll just have to see when it comes out in the wash. Okay folks, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.